Currently. Underneath the morning light, Ben, true to his nature, rises from his sleeping hole and dusts himself off. He carefully begins to fill in the hole, leaving no trace of his presence. This careful attention to the environment shows his respect for nature. Meanwhile, Wyatt, perched high in the treetops, starts his morning with a series of stretches. He sings to himself in a cheerful, melodic tune, repeating the words,
"We're going in the cave. We're going in the cave,"
over and over. His infectious enthusiasm adds a lively energy to the forest around you. Thomas, in the midst of his own morning routine, takes a stick and draws in the ashes of the campfire. He packs his pipe with a special blend of mystical herbs, intending to aid the visions of his weary mind. The familiar scent fills the air, carrying a hint of magic and intrigue. As the morning light continues to filter through the trees, you feel a renewed sense of purpose and anticipation for the journey ahead. Ben strides over to Gruffin, his face showing a mix of determination and impatience. He cuts to the chase, asking,
"Where the hell is this cave at?"
Gruffin, who had been quietly observing the morning activities, chuckles and nods towards the stone marker.
"Fear not, lad. The stone will guide us. Just follow its glow, and it'll lead us to the entrance of the lost mine."
He claps Ben on the shoulder with a hearty grin.
"We're on the right path, trust me. Now, let's not waste any more time. Onward."
As Ben and Gruffin are discussing the way to the cave at the campsite, Wyatt, after descending from his tree, begins to frantically look around, catching the attention of the others. Thomas, concerned, asks,
"What could be the matter?"
Wyatt's voice trembles with worry.
"My brother. Where has he gone? He was here last night."
The realization dawns on the group that Levi, Wyatt's transformed brother, is nowhere to be found. It seems that during the night, the homunculus must have slipped away unnoticed. Gruffin, ever practical, suggests,
"We'll have to search for him. He can't have gone far. We must find him before it's too late."
With a shared sense of urgency, the party fans out, combing the area around the campsite for any sign of Levi. Wyatt continues to call out for his brother, his voice filled with a mixture of hope and anxiety. After a thorough search, you come to a grim realization: Levi is nowhere to be found. The forest remains silent, offering no clues to his whereabouts. The party regroups at the campsite, the tension of the missing Levi weighing on everyone's minds. Ben takes charge, suggesting,
"Let's all go find the gold and address the Levi situation later."
As he makes this proclamation, he can't help but mutter to himself,
"By the 9, I love gold."
Wyatt, still visibly worried about his missing brother, turns to Ben and asks,
"What's all the fuss about this cave anyway?"
Gruffin steps in to provide some context.
The cave is said to be the entrance to a lost mine, rumored to be filled with unimaginable riches. It's been a quest of mine for years, and with your help, we just might find it.
Thomas nods in agreement, his eyes alight with anticipation.
Indeed, the treasures hidden within could hold great power. It's a venture worth pursuing.
With a renewed sense of purpose, the party sets their sights on the journey ahead, the glow of the stone marker guiding their way. As Ben and Gruffin lead the way along the path, Ben turns to Gruffin and asks,
"Can we expect much danger within this mine?"
Gruffin, his gaze fixed ahead, nods solemnly.
"Aye, lad. Lost mines have a way of collecting all manner of dangers over the years. From traps to creatures, we'll need to be on our guard. But with a capable group like ours, I'm confident we'll handle whatever comes our way."
Meanwhile, Wyatt strikes up a conversation with Thomas as they walk along. Thomas, ever contemplative, takes occasional draws from his pipe as they stroll. Wyatt's nimble fingers pluck berries from nearby bushes, collecting them in a small pouch. He looks to the halfling wizard with a mix of curiosity and concern.
"Where did you come across a spell that could summon my long-lost brother?"
Wyatt inquires, his voice tinged with a mix of hope and apprehension. Thomas, his gaze fixed on the path ahead, wears an expression that hints at a long and complex history.
"I've been in this realm a long time, Wyatt, and I've made mistakes in my past."
He begins, his voice steady and reflective.
"When I was younger and hard up for coin, I joined a secret wizard faction that snatches people from all over the realm.
He takes a deep breath before continuing, his eyes distant.
It was as simple as reciting an incantation, and their souls were trapped in my book until I recited the spell containing the person's true name, the one that preceded this realm. See, Wyatt, there was a high price on the head of an elvish royal like your brother. Regrettably, I accepted the contract and stole Levi. Afterward, I was racked with guilt and couldn't go through with the deal. But I was also wanted in your kingdom and was unable to return your brother."
The weight of Thomas's confession hangs heavy in the air, and a somber atmosphere settles over the group. The forest around you continues to whisper with the sounds of nature, oblivious to the secrets that have just been revealed. Wyatt takes in Thomas's words, his expression a mix of understanding and empathy. The truth of the matter is a heavy burden to bear, and it's clear that Thomas carries it with him. The journey ahead is fraught with both the promise of treasure and the weight of past decisions. As you continue along the path, the stone marker's glow leads the way, casting its ethereal light on the forest floor. The party continues their journey through the treacherous woods, their steps cautious and measured. As they move forward, they stumble upon a curious sight, a gnome nest, burrowed deep into the ground. The intricate tunnels and chambers seem to stretch far beneath the forest floor. Unbeknownst to them, the ground beneath their feet has been weakened by the gnome's extensive digging. The combined weight of the party is enough to cause the ground to cave in, creating a sinkhole that swallows them up. The group tumbles down, finding themselves trapped at the bottom of the hole. As they assess their situation, the sounds of anger and commotion fill the air. Dozens of angry gnomes line the entrances to their now exposed tunnels, their eyes narrowed in fury as they glare at the trapped adventurers. The gnomes, clearly protective of their nest, are not pleased with the intrusion. Ben, Thomas, and Wyatt all look over to Gruffin, simultaneously non-verbally asking what to do. Gruffin, his gaze steady, assesses the situation. The angry gnomes glaring down at the party present a formidable challenge. He raises a hand in a gesture of peace, trying to convey that they mean no harm.
We come in peace.
He calls out, his voice echoing in the tunnel.
We didn't mean to disturb your nest. We seek passage through these woods in search of a lost mine.
Ben, Thomas, and Wyatt watch Gruffin closely, their expressions a mix of anticipation and apprehension. The gnomes' expressions remain stern, but there's a hint of consideration in their eyes. It's clear that they're weighing their options. Gruffin is momentarily taken aback as Wyatt takes matters into his own hands, confidently declaring,
I got this. Don't worry, guys.
He swiftly digs into his side pouch, producing small stones, which he starts to throw at the crowds of gnomes. Ben, ever vigilant of his coin purse, clutches it tightly in his left hand while drawing his dagger with his right. He stands at the ready, prepared for any potential threat. Meanwhile, Thomas delves into his satchel in search of a length of rope. His hands work quickly, determined to find the necessary tool for the situation at hand. Angrily gibbering the gnomes, taken aback by the sudden action, scatter and duck for cover from Wyatt's stones. The distraction buys the party a moment of respite. Wyatt, rolling an 18 on dexterity, is undeterred, and continues his assault on the gnomes, throwing stones with precision and producing surprisingly long streams of spit to further discourage them. Ben, showing confidence in the group's abilities, declares,
We can take him.
His resolve shines through, ready for whatever challenge may come. Thomas produces a 20-foot length of rope from his bag, preparing to use it as a means of escape. He points to an exposed root at the mouth of the sinkhole, hoping to secure the rope for a potential climb out. However, as he rolls a 5 and attempts to shoot the rope from his hand, it leaps up only 1.5 feet before wilting back to the floor of the sinkhole. The party is faced with a setback, as their initial escape plan seems to have faltered. The gnomes, while still somewhat disoriented by Wyatt's unconventional tactics, are regaining their composure. Thomas, in a moment of urgency, rolls a 3 and yells out,
Defensive positions.
However, his warning goes unheard amidst the chaos, and the rest of the group remains focused on the immediate situation. Ben, attempting a diplomatic approach, rolls a 5 and calls out in his most measured voice,
Gnomes, hear me. Lay down your arms, and this can be resolved.
However, the effect on the horde of gnomes is minimal. Some of them tilt their heads in confusion, exchanging puzzled glances. As the tense standoff continues, after rolling 13, Wyatt's keen eyes scan the crowd. Amidst the sea of gnomes, he catches a peculiar sight, a gnome towards the back of the crowd, wearing a leather apron over a pair of tighty-whities, a red pointed hat, and even sporting a gold chain. This gnome seems to be frantically jumping up and down, trying to get a better view over the pointed hats of the others. The sight is both comical and strange, standing out amidst the serious situation. Wyatt may have spotted something important, or perhaps it's just a gnome with an eccentric sense of fashion. With determination, Thomas focuses his magical energy on the rope, willing it to span the distance and tie itself securely around the exposed root. The spell is successful, and the rope holds firm. He gives it a sturdy tug to test its stability, satisfied with the result. Without wasting a moment, Ben seizes the opportunity and grabs the rope, wasting no time in starting his ascent. His dwarf strength serves him well, and he begins to climb steadily. Meanwhile, Wyatt's sharp eyes remain fixed on the peculiar gnome at the back of the crowd. He locks eyes with the gnome and points directly at him, shouting,
You.
The gnome, wearing the eccentric attire, seems momentarily startled. He points to himself, mouthing the word, Me? The gnomes are momentarily distracted by the unexpected interaction, creating a brief window of opportunity. Thomas quickly urges Gruffin to climb the rope behind Ben, ensuring that the party makes their escape. Gruffin begins his ascent, his experienced hands making the climb look almost effortless. Meanwhile, Ben continues his steady climb, determined to reach the top. Wyatt, seizing the opportunity to further distract the gnomes, gives the confused gnome a nod. He then attempts to add a flirtatious touch, intending to wink and blow a kiss. However, after rolling a 4, in his nervous state and heightened adrenaline, he miscalculates the motion. Instead, he blinks rapidly and accidentally smacks himself in the mouth. The impact stings, dealing 2 damage to him. Ben, with his determined dwarf strength, reaches the top of the rope and successfully climbs out of the sinkhole. Gruffin follows closely behind, showing his experience in navigating such situations. Thomas now takes a moment to assess the situation. He looks to Wyatt, who is locked in a curious exchange with the eccentrically dressed gnome. The gnome, blushing and batting his eyelashes, clearly understands the sentiment behind Wyatt's actions. Seizing the opportunity, the gnome begins to push his way through the crowd of gnomes, determined to make his way to the group. As the gnome breaks through the crowd and approaches, Thomas takes charge, urging Wyatt to start his ascent up the rope. Wyatt, with a determined look, begins his climb. From above, Ben and Gruffin watch the scene unfold. Ben, ever practical, turns and starts to saunter off, perhaps to scout ahead or find a vantage point. As Wyatt ascends, he insists on rolling for performance for the gnome crowd and producing an 18. His green tights now drastically accentuate his movements, drawing attention to his backside. His cheeks give little claps against each other as he squirms up the rope. Just below him on the rope, Thomas quickly averts his gaze, focusing on the task at hand. Wyatt and Thomas reach the top of the rope, rolling out onto the ground with a sense of relief. Thomas glances over the edge to see the gnome, now making his way up the rope behind them. Uncertain of the gnome's intentions, Thomas begins to untie the rope. As the gnome approaches, he looks up to Thomas, his gaze earnest. Rolling a 4, the gnome stammers out, "Please let me come with you. My name is Randy. I'm quite smitten with your travel companion. I must join you." Thomas considers Randy's plea carefully, not thoroughly convinced he holds the rope over the edge of the sinkhole. He's wary of the gnome's intentions, but there's a sincerity in Randy's eyes. Wyatt, however, is quick to lend his support. Rolling a 16, he pleads with Thomas, his voice filled with urgency.
Please let him join us, Thomas, please. His drip is immaculate.
Thomas takes a moment to weigh the options. Finally, he relents and allows Randy to join them, lowering the rope down for him. With Randy now part of the group, the forest tunnel holds a sense of anticipation and curiosity. The party stands united, prepared to face whatever challenges may come their way. Thomas looks over to Ben making his way down the trail. He waves the group over and they jog to catch up to Ben. As the party catches up to Ben, they gather together to discuss their next steps. With Randy now officially part of the group, the conversation takes a more jovial turn. The topic of discussion turns to what name they should call themselves as a collective. Ben, with a determined look, suggests,
"The Fellowship of Fellas."
Randy, always eager to contribute, interjects with Gruffin's Goons. Thomas, ever contemplative, offers
Community Consortium
as an option. Wyatt, with a mischievous glint in his eye, proposes
The Fraternal Order of Treasure Hunters.
The group continues to toss around ideas, each suggestion met with thoughtful consideration and a hint of laughter. The forest path ahead seems to resonate with the camaraderie of this newly formed party. After a spirited debate, they ultimately decide to put off the final decision for later. For now, they are content to journey forward together, united by a shared purpose. With their new name still pending, the party heads down the path, the glow of the stone marker continuing to guide their way. The forest around them teems with life, and the promise of adventure fills the air.